Let's get started. So, welcome to today's online workshop hosted by the University of Manchester's Careers Service. You're very welcome, and we hope that you find it beneficial. Firstly, I'd just like to say I'm so sorry if you've lost your graduate job due to coronavirus, whether you're a final year student who has had their offer rescinded, or perhaps a recent graduate who has been made redundant due to the pandemic. I understand that it must be a very difficult time at the moment, and this is a very sensitive topic, so thank you so much for joining us. You're really not alone in this, and we really do want to support you as much as we can, so thank you so much. Today's workshop, in that sense, will be very action-based, so there'll be lots of links to resources. If you're watching live, you can download the handout, and you can access all the links to the resources that we'll be talking about. And if you're watching the recorded version, you can find all the links to the resources on the video in the video description box underneath the video on YouTube. So, who are you talking with today? My name is Jenny Sloan, and I am a careers consultant at the University of Manchester for graduate transitions. So I look after final year students and recent graduates. And I'm joined today by three of my colleagues who I'll let introduce themselves, I guess just on the order of the screen. So we'll start with Elizabeth.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I'm one of the careers consultants. I work particularly with postgraduates at the University of Manchester, but prior to joining the university, I had a career in industry, including as an HR manager and a graduate recruitment manager. So I've been through a lot of recruitment, but also helping people when their jobs have been lost as well.
Hi, my name's Sarah Ashworth, and I'm a careers consultant who sits within the team that support biology, medicine and health students. Also, in addition to that role, I provide support to researchers who are quite frequently looking to change jobs. So I'm more than happy to talk to anyone about how to manage that transition process.
Hi, my name's Penny Gordon-Lanes. I've recently joined the team just back in January. Over 20 years experience in careers guidance, and I am situated in the Faculty of Science and Engineering, so happy to support any students today that have got questions in particular related to that area.
Great, thank you. So we have 30 minutes with you today, roughly about 30 minutes. The first half of the workshop will be focused on the practical steps you can take to help rebuild your confidence and to find your next opportunity, and also all the different resources and support that we can offer you to aid that process. And the second half of the workshop will be more of a Q&A and a discussion, but don't feel that you have to wait to the end to ask questions. As we're going through the first half of the presentation, you can use the question box in the right hand toolbar, and Elizabeth, Sarah and Penny will be happy to answer any questions, but you can also save any questions till after as well. So we'll turn off our webcams now so you can concentrate on the bulk of the presentation, and then we can turn them on again afterwards for the discussion. Okay, so first up, so there we go. If you can't see the full screen, feel free to just press the orange arrow that says hide control panel, and that will push in the control panel so you can see the full thing. So first up, a couple of things to remember. Losing your job for any reason can be really painful, let alone reasons outside of your control. We are living through extraordinary times, and organisations are trying to protect themselves in different ways. So decisions are having to be made that would normally not be necessary. I really want to stress that it's completely natural to feel disappointed, stressed, and just even totally lost at the moment. And the first thing that is most important before you even start to think about careers is to concentrate on what your immediate needs are. So what do you need support with right now? The government has issued lots of advice for anyone who has lost their job due to the current pandemic. So there is financial support available through Universal Credit and other allowances. I think there's also the Employment and Support Allowance and the Job Seekers Allowance. So these schemes are here to support you, and please do avail of them. There's also advice on what to do if you're self-employed and you're getting less or no work at all. So more information about these support schemes can be found on the government website. Remember that all the links can be found on the handout. So if you're watching live, you can download the handout, or if you're watching the recorded online workshop, you can see all the links in the video description box under the video on YouTube. But absolutely, the most important thing right now is that you're safe. When you're ready to start thinking about your next step, please do get in touch, because we're here to help and we really do want to support you. You can use the career service for up to 2 years after you finish your course, and this means that you have access to all of our support services. So that includes application advice and one-to-one careers guidance, but also Careers Link and the whole host of resources on the careers website. Lastly, if you have lost your job, please try to remember that it is not a reflection on your ability, skills, or experience. It is certainly not indicative of your future prospects, and it's absolutely not an indication of your worth. I know it can be really hard, but try to remember that you got a graduate job once and you will get one again. It might be difficult, but it's essential to try to have confidence in yourself and just be kind to yourself at the moment. Reaching out for support when you need it is more critical now than ever, now more than ever, and that's why that's our number one point. Okay, number two, use this time to take stock of your skills and experience. So this is a great way of rebuilding your confidence. Chances are that you've acquired so many fantastic skills throughout your degree, volunteering, part-time work, or your graduate role. It's likely that you can look over old CVs or application forms to remind yourself of all the skills and experience you gained while at uni. But since you've started working as a graduate, it's likely that you've gained a whole host of new skills, or at least you've strengthened old ones. To help you get started, I would recommend that you have a look on our transferable skills pages for examples of different sorts of soft skills that you may have acquired or reinforced during your graduate role if you are a recent graduate. Also, don't forget about any IT, digital or technical skills that you've developed since starting work. Maybe you've gained some experience in programming or coding or working on new systems while in your graduate job. All these skills are fantastic, and they should be on your CV as a way of updating your CV. You can also have a look at the graduate benchmark tests to screen your current level of numerical, verbal and inductive reasoning skills, which many graduate recruiters are looking for right now. These can actually be found on the Next Step Support website, which is packed full of free online resources for all students and graduates, regardless of what university you go to or went to. And although you may be suffering a professional loss at the moment, it's so important to remember that you're still you and you still have lots of knowledge, skills and experience that will be attractive to graduate recruiters. I know it's much easier said than done, but please try to remember this. You were hired once and you will be hired again, and you will find your next opportunity. Okay, which brings us to number 3, see what's out there. So it is true, some organisations have frozen their graduate recruitment, but others are in real need at the moment, and we're seeing organisations opening up their graduate recruitment after having some time to adapt their working practices and their recruitment and selection processes. You can use Careers Link to search for graduate jobs, internships and volunteering opportunities for up to 2 years after you finish your degree. This is a really great resource. You can search by location or sector, and I would definitely recommend that you set up alerts so you don't miss out on anything that you might be interested in, and you'll also find out about new vacancies as soon as they come up online. I would also suggest that you check out our Who's Hiring Now pages for up-to-date jobs, volunteering opportunities and sector updates. And we also have a Which Career section, which is such a valuable section on the website for lots of advice on getting into specific jobs and specific industries. Lastly, we have so much great information on how to research employers and jobs. which may help when planning an effective graduate job search strategy. Okay, and then to build on that, our fourth step is to expand your search, and don't be afraid of upskilling if necessary. So please do bear with me. I know upskilling can be quite a scary word, and you think, oh my goodness, like, you know, more work to do, but it's not as bad as it sounds, and it is really necessary if you want to future-proof yourself. So just because you started your graduate career in one sector does not mean that you have to stay there. Actually, some of the best roles can be found in sectors and industries and organisations that wouldn't initially come to mind when you think of your dream job. So I would recommend checking out some careers questionnaires for inspiration and deeper insights into your strengths. You can use this self-awareness to aid your decision making when it comes to planning your next step. So Prospects Career Planner here, this is a great resource, and it matches your skills, motivations and ambitions to a number of careers that could be perfect for you. We've also got Profiling for Success on our website, and here you can access a range of questionnaires, including personality and career inventories, to help you work out your strengths and preferred ways of working. So just a little disclaimer for anyone and any recent graduates who are thinking of skipping this step: even if you explored your skills and your strengths while at university or just after graduation, it's likely that they may have changed and updated since you started working. So it's definitely worth having another look at your strength and the skills that you do have. This will enable you, when you have a deeper understanding of your preferred ways of working and where your strengths lie, to think outside the box when it comes to sectors or companies. It could be a good idea to join us for a lunchtime live session with an employer you wouldn't normally consider as your type. These sessions are really great. We had one today, and they give you the chance to listen and to talk to a variety of graduate employers as they host an online workshop over lunchtime. And don't worry, you can turn off your webcam and eat your lunch at the same time, which is exactly what I did today. So when it comes to expanding your search, it really is important to keep an open mind and to be flexible when looking for new opportunities. So my advice would be to look at the role itself and examine the job description and the person specification. If it sounds like a great role, but you don't fit all of the essential criteria, consider upskilling. We have a massive range of free and low-cost online training courses listed on our website that can help boost your skills and your CV. Volunteering is also an excellent way of discovering new interests, acquiring new skills, and of course strengthening old skills. Not only obviously does it help you to support communities and projects in need, and as we know there are many at the moment, it will also allow you to expand your network and introduce you to new ways of working and jobs that you might not have considered before. And there are absolutely loads of remote volunteering opportunities listed on our opportunities and updates pages. Again, all links can be found in the handout or the video description box. Lastly, I would also check out our guides on future proofing, which is a bit of a buzzword at the moment, and our top tips for boosting your employability from home. We've got loads of support on our website and our blog, which not many people know about, so I would definitely recommend that you have a look on our blog. And if you are considering changing sectors, there's a great resource on Prospects website called Make a Career Change. But I would also suggest that you book a careers guidance appointment with a careers consultant to talk through what your options are, what sector you worked in, what sector you could be interested in. Even if you don't have a clue, please do feel free to get in touch, and we can have a chat with you and help you figure out what your options are. Number 5, update your CV and LinkedIn profile. So we weren't going to get through this presentation without mentioning that. So recruiters don't want to only hear about all your amazing graduate level skills and qualities and mindset. They want to see demonstrable evidence of them. So now is a great time to update your CV and LinkedIn. Also, you'll want to let recruiters know that you're open to new opportunities, and you can do this on your LinkedIn. I know it can be hard when you're feeling dejected and quite possibly mourning the loss of your previous role. But when you feel ready, and if you need some help getting to that stage, get in touch. It is important to try to lead with a positive, driven foot forward. So to help you get started, check out our CV toolkit for templates, sample CVs, and tips on using active language. For the majority of recent graduates, a reverse chronological CV will do the trick. But if you're changing sectors, then a skills-based CV might be best, and that's something that we can help you with. If you've not got a LinkedIn profile, please make one. You can have a look at our LinkedIn pages for more information on developing an effective profile, connecting with people you already know and past University of Manchester alumni. And also there's loads of information on joining relevant LinkedIn groups. So once you finish the first or second or third, we're not going to judge, drafts of your CV or LinkedIn profile, you can get feedback from a careers consultant by email, Zoom or Skype on how you can improve them further so you can feel more confident. Okay, so our next top tip, and bear with me here, this is quite a lengthy one, is to prepare for changing graduate recruitment practices. So it's important to recognise that obviously in response to coronavirus, employers have adapted their graduate selection methods and processes. Virtual assessments are now much more common, with interviews being carried out online or over the phone. And actually interview questions may have been updated as well to explore how you face things like adversity, uncertainty, workload management and self-motivation. These are all really important skills to have at the moment, and recruiters will want to know to what degree you possess them. So it might seem a bit scary preparing for a recruitment process that is very different to the one that landed you your first graduate job, but don't worry, as always, we're here to help. You can have a look at our video interview preparation guide, or you can take a free practice interview test on Graduates First. So to access the free version, you'll need to log in via the university's careers website because we've bought a license. Target Jobs also has some excellent tips on both pre-recorded video interviews and live on-screen interviews. And my colleague Penny, who's also on this workshop, has done a great online workshop on video interviews as well, and that's available on our YouTube channel. You can also book an interview simulation, which isn't as scary as it sounds, with a careers consultant to practice a video or telephone interview ahead of the real thing. So that should work to help reduce your nerves a little bit. Over on our blog, again, a great resource that not many people know about. We've got lots of support on remote assessment centres and telephone interviews. And we also have loads of online workshops to help you prepare as much as possible. You're in one now, so that's a great first step. And finally, I would suggest keeping up to date with upcoming online workshops or check out our playlist to tune into past workshops. Okay. And lastly, everyone's favourite, networking. And I say that with a heavy dose of sarcasm. But on a more serious note, I just want to reiterate that there is absolutely no shame in losing your job due to the current crisis, either a job offer or your graduate job. What most people don't realise is that others really do want to help, especially when times are as difficult as they are now. So that's why it's so important to connect with as many people as possible from a variety of industries and professions. Networking, although it can seem a little bit scary, it really does have multiple benefits, and that's why we encourage students and recent graduates to do it so often. So these benefits can include sector updates, but networking can also provide you with insights into industries from the outside that you otherwise might not have had access to. And more directly, someone in your network may know that their organisation is hiring at the moment, and they can approach you directly with an opportunity if they're aware that you're looking for a new graduate role. So most people would associate networking with conferences, panels and events, but the current lockdown and social distancing measures won't let you off the hook, even though we don't have any events going on at the minute. There's lots of virtual ways to network, and it is very possible to network at the moment despite the lockdown, mostly through social media. So you can use LinkedIn to connect with former colleagues, old friends and staff from university and fellow University of Manchester alumni. We have a huge number of alumni networks available on LinkedIn, especially international networks, and these are all listed on our website. If you've got Twitter, you can also use it for job hunting and networking. Some organisations who are hiring at the moment want to be able to recruit really quickly, so many will post vacancies on their social media channels directly. I would suggest following companies that you're interested in and also following the Career Service on Twitter as well, because we'll repost anything that we think you might be interested in. Next, the Manchester Network. The Manchester Network is another way of connecting with thousands of alumni. It's great and often very underutilised, and there are thousands of alumni signed up to support current students and recent graduates. As always, more information can be found on our website. Remember, networking is a skill, not to be cheesy, but it's true. Practice does make perfect with this one, and we have lots of examples on our website of how you can brush up on this particular skill. So those are our top 7 things you can do right now to give yourself a confidence boost and to start developing your job hunting strategy. Thank you so much for participating in this half of the online workshop. We hope that you find it informative. I know this is a sensitive topic and this might be quite a painful time for you. Please remember that you don't have to go through this alone. We're here and we really do want to support our students and our recent graduates, and I really do mean that. If you'd like to talk through any of these actions with a careers consultant, please do not hesitate to book a guidance appointment. These are being held at the moment via Zoom or Skype. You can book on Careers Link, but just remember, if you're a recent graduate, you should log in as a graduate. If you're a current student, you can continue to log in as a current student. And you can also book through our online chat. It's staffed 9 AM to 5 PM every weekday. If you're stuck, you can always just drop us an email and we'll get you booked in for an appointment. I would also strongly encourage you to follow us on Facebook and Twitter and check out our YouTube channel. And this is probably the best way to keep up to date with future workshops and useful resources and updates on our blog. So we're going to have a chance now for some discussion and questions and answers. So we will turn on our webcams so we can have a chat, and feel free to write your questions in the question box, and Sarah, Penny, Elizabeth and I will do our best to help. Okay. Oh, sorry, I've disappeared. Okay, was there any questions throughout the presentation at all, or was it pretty quiet?
Well, there's one question which says, can we get a copy of the slides sent to our emails, please? So I'm sure we can be able to organise that. If you register beforehand with Careers Link, then we should be able to get those to you.
Absolutely, yeah, and you can also download the slides in the handout section. So just below the question box, there's a handout section, and feel free to download them. All the links are there as well. But as Elizabeth said, we can email you them as well. So there's a couple of general topics that seem to come up when we're sort of working with perhaps people who have maybe had their job offer rescinded, or they've lost their graduate job. So I guess we can just have a think and have a chat about that. I think Elizabeth, you mentioned there seems to be a bit of a worry at the moment that if you want a job with a particular graduate employer and they pulled their graduate scheme, and you were thinking, oh my goodness, this was my chance to work with the company that I wanted. So what sort of, I guess, advice would we give if someone was in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you set your heart on a particular employer, and either they're not recruiting, or if you're in the worst case where you did have a job offer and that's been rescinded. It happens in most of these kind of big recessions which are kind of coming towards us, and we don't know how quickly it's going to recover. But what I would suggest is keeping in touch with that employer. You could either just disappear off their radar completely, But alternatively, you could be looking at things like connecting with them on LinkedIn, following them on LinkedIn. Keep an eye out for any news of any types of jobs that they're recruiting for, if you're particularly keen on that one employer. So, you know, sign up for, do searches where on the employer's name on Twitter, online, and get alerts when those things come through, because you want to be the first to know that they're now starting to recruit again. But the other thing which really has struck me when I've gone to visit other employers is the fact that one way onto graduate recruitment schemes is often through internal moves. So when I've visited some big corporations, they've wheeled out their recent graduates to show us careers advisors and said, here's our recent graduates, and you ask a little bit about them. And it's not unusual that some of these people on their really top kind of management graduate schemes, it's not the first job. Their first job was either something outside or even another job within that organization, which they've done temporarily, and then have got the chance to apply to the graduate scheme when that became available. So I would strongly recommend that as a potential option. Can't help but laugh at
invasion.
Oh, thank you, Elizabeth. And Sarah and Penny, did you have any sort of tips to add on what Elizabeth was saying about keeping up to date?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with Elizabeth. My experience has been that, you know, if you can get a foot in the door, if you want to work for a particular organisation, if you can get a foot in the door, then they'll usually go to internal recruitment before they go to external recruitment. So it's worth considering as an option.
Jenny, we've had a question coming in around sort of connecting with professionals on LinkedIn. So this person saying, I've connected with several professionals on LinkedIn and have messaged them regarding graduate placements, graduate opportunities. They've not heard from many of them, and some have said that they'll have a look. And they're asking really what's the best approach in kind of connecting with them. So LinkedIn's a great tool for connecting with professionals. You have got the alumni page on the University of Manchester LinkedIn page. So actually connecting with alumni, you may find might be slightly more successful because you have that connection with those people already. They've studied at the university. They may indeed have done the same course as you. So it's definitely worth using the alumni page on the University of Manchester LinkedIn group. In terms of kind of the approach, I mean, I always suggest that you write some sort of personal message when you are connecting with people, particularly if you haven't met them before. It's always helpful to just put a message in there, sort of advising why you're connecting with them. I'd advise against asking them anything outright at that point during the initial connection, you know, just a hello. I notice you're a recent alumni at the university, you know, just building some rapport with them. And once you have got that relationship, once they've accepted the connection and you've had some communication backward and forth, then perhaps start inquiring about opportunities at their company, their organisation, asking them how they got into that role. And as Elizabeth said, you know, many people don't end up going into positions that they perhaps want to initially, but once they're in an organisation, there is opportunity to move around and work on projects that perhaps get you into a position where you want to be, where you aspire to be. So I think just in terms of the initial approach, you know, make sure you personalise a message, and then try and keep that connection, you know, going and you know, keep in contact with them. Jenny, I think you mentioned the Manchester network as well, didn't you? Do you want to say a little bit more about that? Because I think that's a great resource.
It is, I totally agree, and some people don't know it exists. So it's basically it's a platform for University of Manchester alumni, and the alumni, there's thousands on there, and they've signed up to that platform specifically to help recent graduates and current students. So there's a campaign called Ask Me About, so you can ask them sort of quick queries. So whether it's, oh, how did you get into that industry, or you know, what's it like working there, or even up to sort of, can you have a quick look over my CV? So each of their profiles will have some information on what they're willing to offer, and they've signed up specifically because they do want to help. And also I guess I would say not to be disheartened if you don't hear back immediately or don't hear back at all. In normal circumstances, people are busy and check their LinkedIn at various times, but also at the moment, it's hard to know what people's personal circumstances are. So just to be conscious about that, and just to reiterate, I guess, what Penny and Elizabeth were saying about not asking for something outright, but please don't be disheartened if they don't reply. But definitely the Manchester Network is a good source. You've got something in common with them in the sense that you've went to the University of Manchester, but you can also filter by sector, by degree, by graduation year, have a nosy on their LinkedIn to see how they started their work. I quite like going to the very bottom of their LinkedIn and seeing their very first job, and it'll often surprise you what they did and how long they stayed there and things like that. So that's definitely a good resource, I would say. I don't know about Sarah and Elizabeth, did you have anything?
Just one comment. Apparently, we've got Nolene's doing a LinkedIn workshop next Tuesday the 19th. So that's about how to contact people and how to connect with people. And there's quite a bit of etiquette around it. You know, if somebody kind of just cold calls you and says, "Can you get me a job?" you might back off. But if it's about learning about their career path, learning about what they did, and if there's a mutual contact in common, that can be much more effective. But have a listen out for Nolene's LinkedIn workshop next week.
So true, actually. And also, just to mention what you said, like, people love talking about themselves most of the time. So if you ask them questions about their career trajectory and things, most people will love that. Sorry, what were you going to say, Sarah?
It was just highlighting something one of the careers consultants, careers managers who's joined in to today's session was saying it's worth highlighting that actually the recruiting managers may have been furloughed. And as somebody who's, my partner was furloughed last month, he literally wasn't checking emails at all. So for a whole month, no one got a response from him at all. So it's worth remembering that if you're in touch with people, they might be furloughed, so they might not be doing anything related to work.
That's a really good point, actually. So true. And another thing sort of that that seems to come out at the moment is students and recent graduates are considering possibly returning to university, as we see quite a lot in terms of sort of when we're faced with recessions, there's usually an uptake in people deciding to go back to uni or to upskill in some way related to that. So what do you guys think about sort of figuring out, is postgraduate study right for me? Is it the right step? Or, you know, because it is a financial commitment, it's a professional commitment in the sense that you're given that time, taking that time out of your career. So how can students and recent graduates start to think, okay, is this the right step for me? Should I be going down this path, or should I be continuing to look for jobs?
Okay, I'll have a go. I think it can be a good way of using your time. It buys you some time. It does buy you time. It will really challenge you. I think one really important thing to do before you commit to, you know, a big investment like say a master's degree, is to have a look and see where that might lead before you sign up for it. And I think there's some really useful stuff, particularly on things like Prospects Planner, or if you look at some of their information about different types of job sectors, it gives you an idea about how people progress and what kind of backgrounds they might have. So if you want to get into a particular type of role, check and see if the masters that you're considering would actually help you. So that's one thing that you can be doing. I think any masters is going to really challenge you, really going to help you. You're going to have to develop a lot of skills, which, you know, particularly if you've just come out of your final year of an undergrad program. All the master's students we talk to say, I thought my final year was hard, but my goodness, this one, I never realized. So it will be challenging. But what that means is you've then got quite a lot of good stuff to show to employers in future about what you've been doing with your time. The other thing, you might just need to be a little bit careful about getting onto some courses because they're going to be very popular. I would suggest, we're still not clear exactly what's going to happen about when postgraduate courses are going to start for all different universities. But I would suggest that if you are prepared to consider at least starting a one-year master's course at a distance, with the hope and expectation that later on in the course you'll be then getting onto campus. That could improve your chances of getting onto a particularly popular course, because I know that there's a lot of people are having to look at doing distance learning at the start, but there are other students who are kind of saying, well, I want to be on campus, I don't really want to be at a distance, and that might put you at a bit of a disadvantage if you hang out for having to be on campus.
That's a really good point, actually. Yeah, there's still a bit of uncertainty around most unis about when that sort will happen. I know, Sarah, you were mentioning that you during your introduction you work with a lot of career changers and things. Do you have any sort of tips on maybe recent graduates who are looking to make that career change or change sectors and are thinking, oh, is the best way for me to do this to do a postgraduate to sort of hone my skills, or would it be better gaining the experience? I know it's individual for everyone, but what sort of what would you suggest?
Yeah, thanks, Jenny. So I guess it will really depend what you want to switch into. So you can get very focused postgraduate degrees, so things like postgraduate social work, and you know, particularly in the healthcare settings. So clearly, if you're wanting to go into something like that, then you're going to need to do a postgraduate qualification. And if that's something you've been considering, then now could be the time to do it. Otherwise, it really is just about gaining an understanding of the sector that you're interested in moving into, which can be done in a variety of ways. Postgrad study is one of those ways, but also you could look at getting voluntary work, talking to people who are working in that sector, doing some research and having a few conversations with people, because ultimately what it comes down to is you being able to talk about your skills in an effective way for that sector. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have experience in that sector, but you do need to understand how the skills and experiences that you have to date will help you fit into that sector. So as much information as you can gather in that process will help you do that more effectively.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's really... Penny, did you have... I know a lot of graduates from FSE have integrated masters, so perhaps they're sitting on their masters at the moment and they might be considering maybe PhD study. You know, I know that's slightly different kettle of fish, but what would you sort of recommend in that element from an FSE perspective?
Yeah, I think there certainly has been a lot of interest recently from students who are doing integrated masters, looking at PhD options. So we've got some really great resources on the Career Service website, which can help you kind of understand what's involved in finding a PhD, and also around funding and the kind of different options that are available. So I usually encourage students to kind of do a bit of initial research themselves to make sure it is something that they understand, that they know what the commitment is. Some students decide that they do want to have a break, having been in education for quite a long period. So PhDs are something that students can apply for a year or two after they finish their qualification or any point in their career. But the resources on the Career Service website are very good, and they're up to date and they're accurate.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, just speaking of the Career Service website, I know we've got a whole section on careers confidence, and something that we mentioned throughout the workshop was how it might be quite easy to feel a little bit overwhelmed if you have in your head, oh, there's a sort of smaller number of jobs, smaller pool of jobs, and maybe more people vying for them. And we've got lots of support on the careers website on how to sort of handle that feeling of being overwhelmed. But I guess would you have any all of you, I guess, would you have any sort of tips on that initial way to sort of ground yourself and to build up resilience, I guess, if you are feeling a bit nervous about the competition element that's out there? I know that's quite a large topic, but if you have any sort of top tips or advice that you would maybe give. So, no, I was just going to say, shall we start with the
I think, think of the things which you have going for you. If you're at the University of Manchester, you've managed to get yourself to a really good Russell Group university. You've done this before in a competitive situation where it's hard to get into a lot of the courses which you've been doing at this university. So you've done it once, you can do it again. You've also got the support of the Careers Service to help guide you in how do you put together great applications, how do you present yourself to the best effect. So I think it's kind of just reminding yourself, you're the kind of person who can do this, and we'll help you make sure that that happens.
Absolutely, that's so true. You've got, you know, that graduate job once, and you will get it again, and that is something to really think about. Sarah, Penny, do you have anything to build on that or add to that, or does that summarise it quite well?
I think for me it's what Elizabeth says really. It's about having that gratitude, you know, having that appreciation of what you do have, what you've done before, and if you've done it before, you can do it again. And as you said, Jenny, we're here to support people along the way. So I guess it can be difficult when times are tough to remember that they haven't always been tough, but you know, that can be helpful to do if you can.
Absolutely.
And I think just for me, it's, you know, summing up that confidence that is there, tap back into it. You know, you've been successful, you've secured your degree, you've had a job, you know, you've been down that pathway, you know you can do it. Just remind yourself of that, and get people around you to remind you of that as well. You know, that people that are supportive and positive and encouraging. So really tap into your network, and of course the careers team here at the university are absolutely here to support you and help.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. We do want to help both our current students and our recent graduates, so please do feel free to get in touch, because we're all, well, the majority of us are working from home. So so we have only a couple of minutes left. I know we've run over, so if you have any last minute questions, feel free to stick them in the question box. But just sort of one thing that I wanted to perhaps close on was a lot of I'm hearing a lot sort of I need to stay in Manchester, I've got different commitments, perhaps you know, you maybe have family here, or you have signed a house contract, or you just want to stay here with friends, or you want to, if you're living at home at the minute, you want to return to Manchester. So what sort of advice would you recommend for someone who really does want to stay in Manchester, and that is their, or return to Manchester, and they're sort of they're locked down by that that location in a sense? Shall we start with Penny, maybe, to give Elizabeth a break from start?
Yes, I think sort of having a really good understanding of the local labour market, understanding what employers are in the area, and then I think has been referred to before, kind of starting to follow those companies, those organisations, signing up to alerts or updates on opportunities. I think also following what, not just the opportunities, but what they're doing. So on LinkedIn, I tend to follow a few companies because they're really innovative, and they're usually winning lots of awards, or they're doing really amazing stuff. So just kind of having that knowledge, that kind of research, it's taking place daily for me, because I'm seeing what those companies are doing. So I think just really getting a good understanding of what's around you, what businesses are there that you can tap into, that you can follow, that you can reach out to. And I know it's been mentioned before, but the alumni connection, I think, can be really helpful. You know, we do have people living in Manchester that are alumni, so it's definitely worth reaching out to those and connecting with the alumni from the university.
Absolutely. Sarah, Elizabeth, do you have anything to add to that? Or
I would suggest radical move. If you want to stay within Manchester, look outside Manchester for your job. One thing that we know that we have is when we advertise jobs in the large towns around about Manchester, they get far fewer applications, they get far less attention from our Manchester students and graduates. But if you look at somewhere like Warrington, it's a large town full of industrial estates, large organisations, some headquarters there. You can live in the northern quarter or somewhere in the centre of Manchester and commute out to these places where there's less competition, and there are often more, you know, just as many, if not more, jobs. So yeah, that'd be my radical suggestion, is look at the routes out of Manchester and then come and live in the centre and have fun in the evenings.
That's very true. It is sort of focusing on the role itself, isn't it, more so than the precise location. I know you are restricted to Manchester, but Manchester does have excellent transport links, and these places aren't far, are they? It's sort of an easy commute.
Well,
Sarah, yeah, exactly. Lots of people commute, and yeah, a commute can be nice. And well, maybe I'm just saying that because I miss it. I don't have a commute at the minute, but Sarah, did you have anything to add to that? I know in the sort of healthcare, Manchester is there's lots of different opportunities available and things, but
there are lots of different opportunities, and again, it's, I mean, particularly in those in healthcare and biosciences, there's a lot of work at the moment, as you can imagine. So, you know, they've opened up a massive testing centre at Alderley Park, for example. So they're looking to recruit hundreds, literally, of scientists to work in those. So it's keeping abreast of what's happening, really following on from what Penny was saying. You know, keep an understanding of what's happening, and there are networking organisations that you can join. So, for example, for the Northwest, for biotech, there's a company, an organisation called BioNow, that brings together biotech and pharmaceutical businesses right across the northwest of England, and tapping into those resources and understanding who those members are can give you a really good understanding of what the sector looks like in your area. And these exist for lots of different sectors, not just biosciences, but that's just one that I know well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'm conscious that we've run over, but I guess in a way that's a good way, because there are so many practical things that you can do right now if you are unfortunately in this situation. And I guess the major takeaway is please remember that you're not alone. We're here, and we are more than happy to support you. And we've got so much resource on our website, and you can book a one-to-one careers guidance appointment if you want to discuss any of these actions or anything we've talked about in more detail. So we'll round off there. If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to email us at graduatecareers@manchester.ac.uk, and stay safe, and please do keep in touch. Thank you. Bye.